right, guys, welcome back. Guess what, guys? I changed the name to the Modern Flow Podcast. So this is the first podcast that we are recording with Shannon Coates here. It's an old friend of mine. We know for I don't know how many years, but she's here on the podcast, and she's actually was very interested in being on the podcast and sharing her story. So I welcome the opportunity and got to know her and caught up with her. But most recently, we just been chatting on Facebook and just staying in touch do connecting and just sharing some of our stories and some of our pictures and some of our lives. She's a very interesting person and good friend of mine. So what I'm gonna do is have her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what you are here and why you're here. And I'll leave the room for you.
First of all, I think we go back to like 2001. You were just getting out of college. You were back
Yeah,
visiting, I think is when I finally first met you, the baby brother of all the mans.
yeah,
So you come from a lineage of great men. And, I met you. And then just following your journey too, I was kind of like inspired and saw a lot of likeness. And
yeah,
so, a little bit about me. I'm from Canada, if you didn't know. I've been in the States for about 20 years. I got to the States with my starter husband. And then after getting out of a 17-year marriage, I kind of had, heartbreak. And through that heartbreak became an awakening. An
yeah,
awakening, I magically found my life coach who
yeah,
fell into my lap. And I think the trajectory of my life was changed completely, like 180. And so then, like, following your journey through social and seeing you like dance every morning, get up and get empowered, and like
yeah. So
just
we're
some
gonna
of the
start. We're
motivational
gonna
stuff.
start about the woo woo already from the beginning. We're gonna start about
Yeah,
the
and I
spiritual
think
awakening.
it's the
Yeah,
more I learn, because like I'm a sponge, and I diagnosis is like ADHD and a whole bunch of other stuff, a whole
yeah,
bunch of comorbidities. I'm just wicked smart and a little bit sensitive, but
right.
I am a proud mother of four, technically. And my oldest is in the Army. He's jumper airborne, and I'm so proud of Tristan
Yes.
Coates. You
Tristan,
know,
handsome young man. I know him. I
handsome
met
young
him back
man,
in the
half
day.
Khmer,
Yeah,
half
he's half
Canadian.
Cambodian.
And then my was my soul child. I couldn't have any more children, so I just stole another one.
Oh, you
And
adopted
then I've
one.
got my beautiful angel Ava Marie, and
Yeah.
good Lord knows I only need one daughter, and he blessed me with an angel. And then my last is my Action Jackson, and he's just full of action. I own my company, Patient Connect, for 7 years. I've been advocating for patient care. I have about 20 years in medical research. I spent 7 years in diagnostic research, thinking that if diagnosis was the first point of care, to save lives or improve the quality, because that's when
Yeah.
treatment comes in. And
That's
so
your
I've
shirt
spent my
right there,
whole
right?
life
That just popped
now,
in, right?
yeah, just advocating. My mom was a breast cancer survivor. Was caring for her at the age of 14. I remember driving her to chemo and radiation and all those treatments at 16 when I finally could. My dad's lung cancer, small cell, most aggressive kind. Both my uncles were non-small cell. And so rare cancers and advocating for cancer care, especially, I was thinking about you and meditating on coming on, and I thought about so much about like your family and like getting to meet everybody. And the
Yeah,
last time I saw your mom has stuck in my brain forever. She
yeah.
came out, she was, we were going somewhere all together, and she had gotten us a whole bunch of banh mi sandwiches. And those are my favorite bits, and I love snacks.
She's a kind lady, and I
Oh,
think that's
she
where.
was the sweetest angel. Like her face glowed, and that's the hard thing. Like you think about like um Tristan's dad's family and like what I learned about like the different cultures that came through wartime. And you think
Mhm.
about before and after wartime vets, and even looking at my son going into boot camp and what he came out of boot camp. A man,
Yeah, it changes you.
definitely. He wore
I
it,
think
but your mom was an
something.
angel. She always glowed to me, so I just wanted to let you know I still carry that memory.
Well, I appreciate that. She's definitely an angel in my eyes, and me tapping more into my spiritual side of things is very interesting that you started the conversation on the spiritual side and bringing up my mom. She's definitely had a big influence on me, of course, because not knowing anybody from the podcast, I have two older brothers, but when we came from Cambodia or the refugee camp, my family was actually a lot on the run, so there were a lot in like survivor mode. But it was until we got to the States where my mom actually was able to actually start doing some parenting. And luckily, I was the one that got her parenting. So the emotional side, the emotional intelligence, the kindness, and everything. That's where I owe a lot from my mother to who I am too, and also having a very strong father. I think having good parents is something that's like super important.
Integral. So
Yeah, yeah,
important. And I mean,
yeah. And
not
you
only are
being a
you guys
mom of
genetically
4 kids,
blessed,
right? Yeah,
say that again?
you're a mom of 4 kids, and like you have big influence on them too. Especially.
Yeah, and I think at this point in my life too, it's like after you go through divorce and then you try to figure out the best co-parenting that you can for the kids. And like me and Dallas, I am so proud of us. I like him more than when we were married. We are best friends and we co-parent like champs now. And
I
Thanksgiving's
think
gonna be so much fun in our house because we're looking
that
forward to
that
it.
that is a good topic that I didn't even think like talking about is divorce and what happens after
Aftermath.
divorce. And yeah, and let's talk about first. We talked about spirituality. Should we talk about spirituality or co-parenting first?
Well, I think spirituality is what led me to be a better parent. I
Okay.
think after my divorce, my heartbreak, most women can either turn into bitches or we can turn into witches. And I just love and love white light and love everywhere I go. Nothing but positivity and rainbows and butterflies and sparkles. And I will find the silver lining in the worst days. And if you can just find that one little silver lining in that worst day and ride that as a blessing, you know what? Your outlook is 180. And, when I talk about life coaching and spirituality, it's kind of really important. So, like, I was the captain of my rugby team in Canada. I started a team up, led them to
Uh huh.
second at provincials, second year. I mean, I was on the boys wrestling team before I started the girls wrestling
Yeah,
team.
and you
I've
do
been in mixed martial
jujitsu
arts,
now,
well,
right?
12
You're pretty
years.
active. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I volunteer for Girls and Geese to keep girls training and training with the beasts and the
Yeah,
goats like Bia of jujitsu because I want to be around greatness, so I will be inspired by greatness. You are
yeah,
what you eat. And what I learned through like even the one book that changed my life and the reason why pro athletes have pro coaches, because it's going to push them to the next level. They don't see what we need to see or where we need to train, where our weakest link is, because you're not going to get
yeah,
any stronger if that's still broken.
yeah,
Miguel Ruiz, 4 Agreements. If I now just live my life by that and understand I'm a product of my environment, like your mom suffered with fight or flight coming through to try to even get here, and like for
mhm,
me, learning how to parent on Tristan and kind of figuring it out. And by the time Jackson came along,
yeah,
it's all love because I've learned through the first few and might have messed up. And I've apologized to them because I may have not been the best parent, but I just
yeah.
do my best every day from this point on. And then the
Thank you.
co-parenting has fallen in after that. Because if
And
I
it
just stick to
falls
those
in.
4 agreements,
What are the 4 agreements again? I
oh
read them.
Jesus, you're going to put me on
Anyway.
the spot. I'll just do my
All
best.
right, let me chime in and share and definitely like put my thought on what you shared. That's like incredible. Like the spiritual side is kind of what leads you to being a better version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot for me, like when I speak and talk on the podcast and try to resonate with the audience member, is like there'll be some kind of emotional pain that you'll go through. I think that's a big realization that as adults you will have to learn how, as you become more conscious, as you go through more relationships, more ups and downs, those build up, those memories build up inside your brain. And that's
Subconscious.
where, yeah, when I started going to therapy myself too, is that's when I started to incorporate more into my spiritual practice. I'm not I'm pretty sure the same with you. You're not a religious person or anything, but you don't like, I thought about going to church, but then I was like, I don't know if I could go to church.
I
I
find
really
church
enjoy
in the
doing,
woods, honestly. I find
yeah,
church in the woods. If I hug a tree, that's 10 minutes of grounding that I could have gotten from or oxytocin drop as like
right.
hugging a tree or a 6-second kiss on the
Yeah.
lips. And I find love and beauty in everything. I'm
Yeah.
more spiritual than religious because I find beauty in every religion and culture that I've ever found because they were blessed with something at that time and place that they've carried on that I know nothing about. And I love learning
Yeah.
about it. Even
Yeah, I
through
don't
like
think I
the
don't think there's
connect.
anything like wrong with religion, but for me, I just went into the route where like I really wanted to kind of transform and find myself from within. And this natural process of spirituality was, I figured it out by the help of mentors, books, courses, and just working with other people. And you bringing up and mentioning that working with coaches, life coaches, and listening to podcasts, changing the way you think is uh,
You are what you eat.
it's a part of the process. Part of what you listen is part of your diet as well too, and it could really transform you from the inside. And then I hope to get this message, and you're saying it spot on for the listeners here about like that transformation process. But when you get into like being a better version of yourself, not just like a better person, I think it's like when you get into that spiritual side, you tap into something that's a little bit different that people could sense. There's a book that I'm reading too that I love. It's called Connected to Goodness, and it talks about the source. And the source
Yep.
is basically whatever it is the universe, God,
First
Jesus.
Allah, Abba, whatever
Yeah.
culture gives it the name. I don't know.
I've come to my realization after like my spiritual awakening, and it was about like a year ago. And it felt like, we talk about the illusion, the matrix and stuff. It was like, oh,
Matrix.
everything seems so clear at this moment. And of course, your framework, your life, your worldview changes, and my worldview has changed. Can you tell us a little bit about how you see the world now versus different than when you had the awakening?
Yeah, I feel like every situation was out to get me, and I was the salmon swimming up the stream, beating myself
Mm,
against the rocks, trying to get to my mission to just try to like pay the bills, the hungry, the cycle, realizing that I could be like a dolphin and just ride these waves, like there's
mm,
times and places, there's certain peaks in like retrogrades and just even weather where maybe you just lay a little low. Okay, now's
yeah,
the time to pick up speed. There's the old calendar is what we should be going off, not the current calendar. But you said what's important, and when meditating and praying on coming on here is like, I had a girlfriend ask me, she was like, "Oh, girl, what are you doing? This is your skincare." And I was like, "Oh, a Dove bar." I stopped paying for the expensive skincare because I couldn't afford it currently as a single mom. But I stay Reiki like a mug. And you know what? If your energy and your chakras are balanced, you glow differently to the point where my friends are like, "Oh, what's your skincare?" And I
yeah,
was like, nothing. But if you can't love yourself, truly love yourself, like look at yourself dead in the mirror and say, like, "I love you" 10 times or more, or even sit with yourself and love yourself to the core, every imperfection. As John Legend would say it, you're beautiful to somebody.
yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes to like loving yourself, and then when you're able to put on your own oxygen mask and take care of yourself, self care, then you can take care of those around you and you're a much better quality to them. And spiritually, if I pray and meditate every day, every time I get pissed off or I want to cuss somebody out while I'm driving, I feel better.
Were you living in like the victim fight or flight mode?
Fight or
And then
flight.
once you had that,
My mother and product. What I realized through therapy is that I was a product of a narcissistic mother. And I think
okay,
that, even coming with my ex relationship, it was a family lineage issue. But when you're for agreements, it's not like, what's the best words to say? You're a product of your environment to some degree. So you take
yeah,
ownership of it and you step above it. You either educate yourself, you either take care of your body because it's the temple to your soul.
yeah.
You either take care of your mind first because mental health is more important than physical health. And we all know physical health is damn near
All
important.
right, Shannon, I gotta pause you for a second.
Okay.
So I just pulled up my assistant, ChatGPT. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do something. I feel like Joe Rogan, like when I pull up like information, so I could share with the audience. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
do that.
the four agreements: be impeccable with your word,
Words.
right? Don't take anything personally.
Mm-mm.
Don't make assumptions.
Mm-mm.
Always do your best. Cool. Let me hear you like interpret that in Shannon's language. I bet you
Okay, let me make
it's
2
good.
little notes. Impeccable,
Be
best.
impeccable with your word.
Yeah.
I could actually start because I've read this book, but
I have to go back and I reread it, and then I'll do it on audiobooks. And I catty corn it for my ADHD because I soak it in the best that way.
mhm.
And I mean, I could tell a few of my life hacks
Yeah,
too.
you found your own way. So be impeccable with your words. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using your words to speak ill of yourself or others. Using the power of your words to spread truth and positivity. Okay, cool. So impeccable with your words. Sometimes it's very challenging when you're like pissed off, and especially parenting, right?
Parenting, and then the big kicker is to really truly be concise with your words.
Concise, yeah.
You need to actually stop and think what you're going to say before you say it, and that's the fucking hardest thing in the whole wide world, especially when you're pissed.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I think you also got to give yourself some mindful of it too. Like we have kids, and for me too, like when I get tired and I get irritated, there's some stuff that I say that I know that might be negative, but I think the act of actually trying to catch yourself, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or that's not right, is enough for me to correct that. That's like the awareness of like bringing it up. And then you told us a story about don't take anything personally, and that's good. That's so good, right? Like where when you talk about like before making like a spiritual awakening, you have uh this thing where like the world's against you, like it's happening to me,
Yep.
everything's happening to me, right?
It's against
Why,
me.
why,
Why
why?
me? Why me? Oh, what's next? What's next? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
what's next?
let me know when you want to
So
get back and going.
yeah. No, I mean that's the feeling, and then don't make assumptions. This is good, right? Especially when
Because
you're
sometimes
in
his
the.
grandma might have died and he came to you and he was a little bit of a dick, but you don't know that his grandma just died. But if you just
Mhm.
hold yourself to higher standards in everything that you do, fuck them.
Yeah.
Kill them
And
with
then
kindness is so
always,
much nicer. People get so
last
much
one
more
is
upset
always
when
do
I'm
your
like,
best.
sorry, I love you.
Last one is always do your best.
Yeah,
How do
always
you
do
how
your
do you
best.
how do you how do you like measure doing your best? Sometimes we show up.
Here's the thing. We all know as athletes, some days are going to be better than the next. Some days I'm going to be well rested and I can run that extra mile or do those extra 5-minute rolls and get it done at the gym and feel like $1,000,000. Sometimes I might be under the weather and not feeling my best, but my best that day was my best. But if I'm consistently overall, and the one thing I love about the Japanese culture is small incremental changes leads to big overall changes.
Yeah, that's actually one of my core philosophies. I'm not sure. It really is. If you go
I'd
on,
be digging all the things you'd be posting. I'm on to you. I've
yeah.
been on to you since you started dancing on your videos.
I think I love having the spiritual talk on the podcast because it's when I first started putting out more content this year. It's like when you make this spiritual awakening, you're like, oh, everything's a little bit different, right? The illusion, we talk about the illusion, the matrix, that kind of like the unveiling. Because you for me is like I started dancing and I started feeling more myself when I would do it, and I would always do the stuff that will make me feel like I'm doing myself, like speaking. I wasn't used to like speaking and stuff, but like through the whole process of the spiritual awakening, I was like, people are more attracted to authenticity. I noticed that
Authentic self. Do the
authentic
things that
self.
makes you happy. And if it's dancing, skipping rocks, climbing motherfucking trees like I still do, then
Yeah,
do you, boo. But when you're your happiest, like I will glow to a whole room and it's like moss to a flame. Higher vibrational people. I prayed and called in my tribe and I met a whole bunch of bad bitches and I'm really tickled over them. So,
yeah.
I mean, I just need to be my soul to be fed more
Who'd
with
you um, who'd you connect with? Where are you, in Arizona or California or
San Diego, the
San
whale's
Diego?
vagina. Wrong burgundy. It's just
Like, how did it get started? Like, were you just like, where you started going into therapy and then you started getting into like a spiritual route? Did you go to like plant medicine doctors, or did you go to like spiritual coaches, or which route did you go to? Or did
well,
you just take
so
all of
I
them?
have been in therapy like on and off my whole life. Postpartum depression, I suffered. It ain't easy. It ain't easy baking a kid and it ain't easy popping him out. And it takes a year to recover from that son of a bitch. Also,
It takes a lot.
hormones and everything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried different therapists. I feel like I would just go and pay my money to talk about my problems. And they'd give me some sources, but it was just always like a woe's me. And I was needing tissue all the time. But then I was like, I didn't really get much out of it. I wasn't bad. Like, I feel like I got through the hard times. Yeah. But like, when it comes to like actually finding my groove again, wait a second. Are we back on? Are we?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. Oh, I thought we were taking our break.
Oh, you did?
It's okay. Now I'll start going back. So, I started in with a therapist. Did I get much out of it? No, I paid a lot of money. And then, it was funny, the day that Dallas asked me for my divorce, I found this lady, she was referred to me through my medium that I talked to, rock and roll medium here in San Diego. And so we had like my first, I guess, life coaching call, and I didn't know anything about it. I just booked it because she was referred like
You said it
two
was a
people.
medium, right? That's
Yeah,
like a.
it was.
Can
This
you
was
can
really
you
weird. So
explain
this
what
was
that
a
is?
spiritual thing. The medium
Yeah,
referred me to Lena, my life coach, who changed my life. The day that Dallas asked me for the divorce, I ended up with an hour call with her that turned into a 2-hour call, which ended up with a homework assignment that was everything that I needed to get through that first week of divorce.
yeah,
I had homework, and that's where the most resolve is. Like, I mean, if you take anything seriously, any competition, is life a competition? Are you trying to be the best, do the best? I mean, where do you want to be? Do you want to be happy?
yeah.
Do you want
Let's talk
peace?
about this, like the homework that you got. That right because it's a podcasting, right? You could listen to a podcast, like an hour long podcast, like, oh, there's some fucking good ideas, there's some good fucking insights on there. But the homework, that's
Homework.
where that's where
Read
you close the
Miguel
gap.
Ruiz 4 Agreements, and I was to do a mural of the loves of my life, everything that I had loved, to make a mural.
That was your homework,
My homework,
or
to find
to
out what
make
I
a
loved,
mural.
to make a mural, to find out everything that I loved. And then I was also challenged to do everything that I loved as a child that made me happy. Which for me, I was such a tomboy. It was climbing trees and making rock stacks and skipping rocks and throwing the football. But when you actually find joy in the things like taking pictures, I got back into photography. And now I look at all my pictures and it brings me
I
joy.
like that. And now, are you still, as I'm not sure how, I know you're not supposed to ask a woman how old they are, but like at your age right now, are you still climbing trees and hugging trees, and that makes you
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
like
shoot. I just
you're
had my
in
44th birthday.
44th?
Yeah.
Congratulations. You
Thank
look
you. Oh,
beautiful and
yeah.
amazing.
Well, it's funny because all my friends from like back in the day, they're like, "Oh, girl, you found the fountain of youth," and I'm like, "No, I just found joy and energy centered within, and I pray and meditate, and I feed my body a bit better."
Yeah, of course, of course. I think the, the everything. I think it encompasses everything. More importantly, what you put and listen to, and what you put in your brain, that is your diet as well too. I don't think people think that, like, what you listen to, what you see every day, that is part of your diet too, because that internally becomes how you think.
So I
And I
am
want.
powerful at nighttime. I love putting that on when I sleep because I wake up feeling like a bad motherfucker. I am powerful, I am kind, I am compassionate, I am caring all night long. Goes to your subconscious, it's a brainwash, and it works.
I love you. You got so much joy. There's a different Shannon for sure. Since I remember, because it's tough. Like, life could definitely take you. So the exercise that you did, I want to get back to. I really like how your therapist or your life coach uh asked you to paint a mural, or was it paint a mural, or did you like?
Make a mural. I ended up drawing, I'd half painted it, drawed it, and took pictures that I had pulled off my phone and put it in it. And I'm going to save it for life. Like, it was monumental. And it really was an epiphany for me because, like, when I had my awakening, and you just actually, it's like you just took a step out of your life and you're looking at yourself down below and you're like,
Yeah,
you're a product of your environment if you let it be. So you are what you eat, you feed your soul. You
it's interesting.
listen and just scroll IG mindlessly following horrible things and not inspirational stuff. You're filling your brain with that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
yeah.
When you painted the mural as your inner younger child, and then what you have now, right? It was two murals that you painted or put together.
Oh, it was all encompassing. It's my whole life, everything that I've loved. To figure
Okay.
out, all my heartbreaks, my loves. Like, it was just taking a step back and realizing, like, even in my marriage, my last one, Dallas and I, we both stuck it out way too long. We should have
Hmm.
split a decade ago. We're so much more happier now. I don't know why the conventional, you have to be married, you have to get married, like, why society views it like that. It's like, sorry, we got the cats and the Christmas tree in the background. But, you know, so you are what you eat. But Miguel
Yeah.
Ruiz wasn't the biggest one, and that was hard. So the 4 Agreements, changed my life, and it's a good starting place for anybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think your
Always
insight.
try your best. Always try your best. Now, one day's best is going to be a lot better than the next day's best. We know that, right? Be impeccable with your words. That was the hardest one for me because, as most women, we have verbal diarrhea. And especially when it's a loved one that we haven't seen, or like when we get a hold of them, we're like, or sometimes with the kids at the end of the day when you're just damn tired. And it's like, but
How
to
do you
think,
deal with that?
breath work.
Breath work.
Love breath work. Little box breathing. Done by the Navy SEAL, so it's good. I can
You want to hear something funny? And this will be like really funny for like people that listen when I told you to. This was when I was going through like my top time. I kind of always had an idea that I wanted to be a life coach, kind of like Tony Robbins. 'Cause Tony Robbins was he was my hero, right? College, reading his books and doing his seminars and like being like very powerful. But so I always had an idea that I was going to be a life coach. But when I did it and I was telling my friends, I was like, hey, I'm going to be a life coach, right? So I know some people going into therapy, coaching, or whatever. I was telling my friends, you mean you're going to teach people how to breathe like like that? Because there's actually like a thing. I think it was in like Shallow Hal or something.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins was on that. And like not like life coaching is not like as big as it is back in the day, like 80s, 90s. Who care about mental health? Because Tony Robbins was like curing people of their depression and shit, like on stage and doing those interventions and stuff. But now it's like, well, now it's relevant because a lot of people are dealing with a lot of mental health issues, separation, divorce, loss of
Post
family.
COVID.
Yeah, post COVID, there's a big
highest divorce rate in the country in its entire history. Yeah, because you shoved people into their house with their loved ones day in and day out. I mean, poor Dallas have been doing that for like 3 years before COVID. And it'll
it's
drive
been
anybody crazy. But I think with
yeah,
that beautiful
there's definitely a
people,
rise in divorce. And I think this podcast, let's make sure that anybody that's listening to this, like I want to hear like you touched a little bit about co-parenting and how like important that work is to co-parenting and your ex, right? I've talked to this with some of my best friends. Is like that's gone through divorce as well too. Is like you don't want to be a shitty ex. There's a big
just
realization.
makes it
Like
worse. And it's the
it makes
kids
it
that are
worse.
affected the
It makes
most.
things. It makes things like with coordination with kids, scheduling, dealing with like big things. It makes it worse. So I believe for me, if I hadn't gone through the therapy and the life coaching, I wouldn't be where I am today for sure.
Oh, me
And
neither.
where, yeah.
I mean, I'll talk about it too openly. Like, I am almost 6 years sober. I stopped drinking alcohol. I mean, that was a major pitfall. And Canadians, it's just such a social thing. But then when you're taking care of your dad dying of cancer in the matter of 2 months and the PTSD that you suffer from it, I mean, I had caregiver burnout, wife burnout, owner of my company burnout, probably pushed a nervous breakdown burnout at one point. But if you let it get the best of you, but
Burnout's real, especially at this stage, because we might be dealing with those fight or flight, things that are happening to us, and that's what life coaches help with is helping these patterns that you might not see. Guys, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. My name is Samnang, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. It's been great to have your support, and I want to tell you a little bit more how you can support the community and how we can support you as well too. So if you like the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, the message that we're putting out, the information, the content, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel on Spotify. Please like it. Please share it. Please share an inspiring message. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out to people that need it. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are in need of more personal development support in those areas of physical fitness, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, anything in that type of area, please book a discovery call with us. We'd love to help you. We'll get some time on the schedule to chat about what your struggles are, how we can help you, and we'd love to support you in that way. And if you are interested in being a part of uh, being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. If you have an aspiring story, if you have something that you want to share, if you have a message that resonates that's similar to what we're sharing here on the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, we welcome you to be part of our show. We're super excited where the growth and the community is growing. So we look forward to having you here, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you guys so much for the continued support and the love, and we'll continue to keep putting out the good vibrations out there to help elevate the collective vibrations. And thank you guys so much. And then like breaking it down. But yeah, thank you for sharing all that. Let's chat, and I appreciate all the honesty and all the things that you shared as well too. And you have some a therapeutic jewelry company that you're putting together, right? Or it's
So
launched,
through
right?
Well, here's the funny story. So through COVID, I kind of realized what my kids' parent, like we go to parent teacher conferences, and I always get reamed out, and it's the same story, and they're always so mean. I was like, man, my kids, until I got to be their teacher at home through COVID and running my company in the busiest year of its existence and homeschooling 4 kids on Zoom with kindergarten, and Jackson had 6 logins. Like, I nearly blew a gasket, but then I knew what all the teachers were complaining about. Yeah, we're high strung, we have attention issues, we're way too smart. Books don't, the normal program bores us. Tristan, I bribed him. He was failing every single grade, and I said, what is it going to take in limited game time? That boy was on the honor roll in 2 weeks. 2 weeks it took him to get on the honor roll. So I knew what they were talking about. I knew it was hard. I know I have a lot of sensory issues. I know I can't handle concerts, certain textures of clothes, the seams, the comfort, the sound if it echoes. I know, like, these cats are now about to work my nerves, rattling up the Christmas tree. But I do catty corner my music because I absorb it more as I brainwash myself while I work. So I do audiobooks a lot to kind of like keep it going. One of my tricks. But
Is that one of your tricks, the
yes.
audiobooks?
But for my
Yeah.
jewelry, I started designing stuff that would work. We all have sensory issues. Fidget spinners are now banned in schools. And what were they going to do? I couldn't figure out a way to keep them still and keep fidgeting, but you didn't know I was fidgeting with the dog tag underneath here. And I like it because it's got points in it, and I dig my fingers into it depending on the sensory issues that I'm facing. I've designed earrings, backings, everything. But my newest piece is going to be trademarked. And I got a partner for that invention line. They're like the Willy
Awesome.
Wonka.
Awesome. And we're at Peak Performance Academy and the Modern Flow podcast. We're about helping each other and elevating each other. And what I'll do is make sure to link that in this podcast show notes as well too, so how to support.
I would like to put it out there to the universe. I would love to stay in touch. If anybody has any questions, feels motivated by anything I said and wants to stay in touch, needs help at any point in time, because I can always connect you with who you need to know, medically speaking. I know a lot. But I would put myself out there to the universe to advocate for patient care. I'll advocate for anybody. Anybody wants to reach out, stay in touch, help me with the jewelry line, because I'm trying to push it to the next level. We're close to getting our next piece actually prototype made, and it's including 7 of my favorite therapies into one jewelry design that's cute, and it's going to help quit smoking. I have better sleeping with the breath work, the fidget, and it's cute. And the kids one's an actual fun game. So nice. If it's a game, it's not breath work and it's not homework. It's you beating the game and you're secretly dropping your serotonin levels and having a good old time, and you don't know it. It's like a big, like my vape turned into after divorce and I'm about to quit.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's like, I think, you definitely have the qualities of a life coach yourself, when you go through your own thing and contributing and sharing. I think that's a big part of the next step, next phase of each and everyone's life. I think everybody has a spiritual life, whether they tap into it, whether they not, or whatever. But I think there's a side of us that one contributes to something a little bit bigger. And I love that message. I love how you put that together, and it made sense in how, what problem or what issues or awareness that you're trying to bring. And, I love it. I love that, you brought your insights and sharing anything on the podcast. And I want to ask you, totally up to you. I was interviewing you in the first part of the podcast. I rarely ever have anybody like interview me anymore. So if there's any questions or anything that you have about me and my journey, it's been, and some podcasts I go a little bit surface area or a little bit lower or like deeper into like different areas. But it's something for me. It's like I thoroughly enjoy hearing. It is kind of selfish. I don't know if it's narcissistic or anything, but
No negative self-talk, because I will kick your tail, brother. I will come out to Virginia and I will whoop that ass. And don't think I can't nowadays, because I have trained hard enough that I can take you down.
yeah. No, I mean, not saying like, because like, I've always been into like personal development, and I was like, am I borderline narcissistic because I focus so much on myself? And but it's like, we talk about like feeding yourself, so, or like taking care of yourself with your own oxygen mask, and then like so you can take care of other people. And you've known me for a while, and you've seen some of my content, and I want to hear how much has it made an impact on your life,
Well,
not
it
even
has.
being
You want to know
coached
why?
one-on-one directly
One
with
on
me,
one,
but just
because I guess I've seen you come out of school and I've seen you a little thicker than a Snicker, and then I've seen you slim down and get some muscles, and I was like, wait, what? He's not a child anymore. And then, I saw like the beautiful romance and the wedding, and then the kids come, and it was so beautiful. And then you could see a lot of your posts, like you were hustling for work. You're a grinder. You're always pushing, but you're a man. And I don't think everybody quite realizes the family lineage that you actually come from. Like if you took you, your brothers, and your dad, I mean, you could all pass as twins nearly, but like you're just predispositioned. You are like in greatness. And I think your dad glows, your mother glowed, and that carried down, with you guys, that TLC, that family love that you guys had. Not all of us had that. But when your heart's broken to such a level that yours was with the marriage, I don't know the details, so I just know you guys aren't together and you have these
yeah.
two beautiful children. But like seeing you embrace like yourself, and I loved the hair. Business in the front,
I'll show
party
you
in
my
the
new
back.
hairstyle today. Here,
Bring it.
it changes
Don't give
every
me that
time.
top knot. And I
Yeah,
loved the dancing and just embracing you and like authentically being happy. And you know what? Could you be a backup dancer on TV? Maybe not. Are you 10 times better than me? Fuck yeah. Are you loving every minute of it? And who cares? Dance like you can't dance no more. I dance for myself in front of the mirror in my scantily clads, and it makes me happy. And I tell myself I love myself. And am I glowing because of it? I'll take myself on a date out for dinner. I don't need a man. I just so happen to have a great one now, but
yeah.
I just don't need a man. I love
Congratulations.
myself first and
Yeah,
foremost, and then my children. I am thankful for everything that I have. And the one thing that I could say, my life coach told me two things. Co-parenting. Only remember the good, forget the bad. So you know what? Forget everything bad that ever happened in your marriage. And you just keep recycling the good thoughts. It's going to
yeah,
make making interacting with that person a lot easier, because you're only circling the good thoughts and the good memories, the good holidays, the good birthdays. And every time that bad worm wants to creep in that hamster wheel on your brain, kick that sucker out. And the
yeah,
second one is only kind words. Only speak kind words of your counterpart. There should be no ill words, especially kids around earshot, nothing. We all have feelings. We can all talk to a homegirl, homeboy. Make sure nobody's around.
yeah,
Yours can't hear it. You're allowed your thoughts and feelings, especially if your life coach is there.
yeah. Look at that. Look at that, Coach Shannon over here. I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that about me as well too. I try to do and make as big of an impact as I can, and I
On
guess
your
it's my third.
girls,
Yeah, and
like,
it's important for them as well too. And when we went through my divorce and everything, oh yeah, of course it's tough because you look at everything in such a negative lens, but it takes you to such a low point where even a good day, like for me, it felt like amazing. When you go through it, and going through it makes you appreciate a lot more stuff.
Yep.
appreciate relationships, appreciate more. And I came out of it, and you could see like my whole family, even my dad, like after he passed or my mom passed away, he went through, I don't know, he doesn't really, like, I noticed a big difference in who he was because, of course, he went through a lot of emotional pain, and emotional pain is a big trigger to the next phase of your life to find a little bit
Yep.
more purpose, a lot more contribution. And yeah,
When
for
you're
me, this is
when you're
where,
broken comes the most growth. When you're
yeah,
broken down to pieces, the most adversity, that's where the most growth comes.
a lot of growth comes in. And this podcast is a labor of my, I guess, my manifestation uh, uh, powers. I don't know what it is. I'm already on like episode 66, but this was something that has always been in the back of my head, like the coaching community, personal development, life coaching, and everything. And then at that moment when that it clicked, there's a moment that clicks. If anybody's listening to this podcast and you want to hear like us
Light
talk
bulb.
about our,
I call them light bulb moments. When it's like there's a big ass
it
light
was a
bulb
big
above my
light
head, and
bulb.
I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was a big light bulb. It was like I probably explained it in the first couple episodes of the podcast. It's like you go from when they talk about like the brain and consciousness, it's like I think majority of people are operating with like 10 to 15 light bulbs. Then you become more aware. It's about like 20 to 30. And then when you become very like awakened, it's almost like 80 light bulbs. Like it was a big change and big difference in like how I saw the world and everything. So and that's where I'm here on this journey. But I appreciate
You're
you
shining
sharing
love
it.
and light and improving the quality of life, and you have to think about the ripple effect. I don't think you quite get it. So one of your episodes and one of your posts put a smile on my face for that day and started my day out different. And I don't think that like you're blessing everybody with this. I don't think you quite realize the ripple down effect that it's spread. So you keep doing you, like shit.
Thank
Keep
you. I
empowering,
mean, you're brightening
helping,
up my day
bringing
too. But the more we
healing.
talk, it's like the law of the universe, the law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of like cause and effect. Like literally these languages, these words, like uh before like the pandemic, I knew nothing. I didn't know these spiritual languages. I didn't know inner child healing, trauma, neuro linguistics programming,
Shadow
and
work. Dealing with your triggers.
yeah, triggers. Like that word was so new to me maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, what the fuck are triggers? But then you go through it.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing for me, I'm challenged because I just need like an A, B, C. Like, what do I need to do? You just tell me A, B, C, D. And if it was that easy of steps, I mean,
Yeah,
my
it's not
life coach, she did a book. And so it's just like A, B, C, D on getting rid
healers
of your
breakthrough.
triggers. And you know what's funny? Because during this, I'm like, I am a healed bitch. All my triggers are gone. You cannot ruffle or get under my skin if your life depended on it. Well, this retrograde served up 3 big triggers that I think I still need to heal and work on.
Can you tell me that what that word retrograde mean? Is it
Oh.
like a delay or like a regression?
No, so if you think about this, I never really, when your eyes are open, you're like, holy shit, like blue pill, yellow pill, this is the matrix, cause and effect, I am what I eat. Like I call it in, I put it out. Like
Yeah.
I'm a mirror of my environment, and I chose my environment. But if you think about, we're comprised of 60% water. The gravitational pull affects the waves as such when the whole world goes around. So there's certain points where it's going to cause a lot more waves because of the magnetic pull, like full moons.
Yeah.
Loony bins are crazy. ERs are off the chains. We know why, because it's a full moon,
Yes.
gravitational pull. So during a retrograde, there's a few times during the year where, like this whole week is a retrograde. I call it Murphy Law. What could go wrong will go wrong. So, but if
Okay.
you know it's a retrograde and like electronics are going to be glitchy, the last one I had was, it was so funny because it was like, oh, flights might be canceled. And that huge flight that canceled and wiped out every airport happened to me that week. I was like,
Ooh.
is this serendipitous or is
When
this actually part of the retrograde? So now
when
I
you were
actually pay
talk
some attention.
when you were talking about the is it electromagnet that you're
Yeah, the
explaining?
magnetic pull of the gravitational pull of the moon and the earth as we
Yes.
cycle through our rotation. Sometimes it's going to be
Yes.
high and low. Full
Like
moons, I get feral.
let
Retrogrades, I
me
can get symptoms like sickness. I
Yeah.
mean, but the more you dive in and learn, you just ride those waves. So I'm the dolphin and not the salmon.
That's a great, like, I think point that would make sense to a lot of people, that we have cycles,
We have
like
cycles.
cycles.
Women have hormonal cycles.
Yeah,
Everything
that I think
cycles.
super
Everything
important.
on this planet is all numbers and patterns and a cycle.
Yeah, you definitely got into the spiritual work, because I've been learning about that too. And it's totally up to you. Do you want to spend another like 5 minutes talking about like that? But we got like 10, 15 minutes. How much conversation do you have in you, Shannon?
Oh, honey, I could keep this going all afternoon. I got myself
Yeah.
prepped
So
for this.
yeah, the interest is interesting. So let me be honest with like the podcaster or the audience. And when I hear like we were talking about cycles with the moon, the retrogrades and electromagnets and the poles and everything, I didn't really understand how that worked. And I tell you, if like it was like 4 years and I heard somebody speaking about it, like that's some woo woo shit, whatever. It just sounded like weird. But then when you started to explain it, and I started to experience how like cycles work, electromagnetic works, how grounding works, like all that, you start to really like believe that
Oh, I sleep on a
this,
grounding mat every night. I'm
yeah,
so high sensitive. I know how to counteract everything. So I am overstimulated. I sleep on a grounding mat every night. I meditate with the Suge Knight balls. I mean, I sage and Palo Santo like a mug. But when you start following too, like your biorhythms, when you want to learn about that and dive a little deeper, when you start riding those waves, like especially as a woman, we know if by this age, when your girl time's coming and a week before your girl time, you're fired up high and you might as well just ride that wave, plan all your big events around your hormonal cycle or the moon cycle, but just like the farmer's almanac.
yeah.
We don't want to get all technical
You
and take it
plan for the
back.
seasons. Yeah, I'm not a female, but I understand. Like I've had talked to definitely like and especially with men, and for women, and the counterpart would be men, like testosterone drops at certain times of the day. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I I would realize in the afternoon, like when I get tired and stuff, and like, why am I so sad? Why am I so, but as I got older and started to like realize, I was like, my testosterone dips at this certain level, and then I would like actually plan ahead. I would actually like maybe clear my calendar or not do anything too intense at that time and stuff. So I think it's important to understand the cycles, like
And the cycles of life. My brother is wicked smart, and one thing that he has said to me that stuck with me as my baby brother, he's like, you know what? When you're hungry, eat. When you're tired, sleep.
yes,
When you have the ambition to work because you're all fired up, hammer out your work and then enjoy your downtime when you're exhausted to just rest. I have become more productive living by that cycle, just listening to my body and what it needs. You got to take care of, like, if you're blessed with a Corvette like yourself, if you didn't take care of your Corvette wouldn't end up nice in 20 years. But if you
yeah,
took good care of your Corvette, your teeth, your hair, your skin, loved on your car's going to run a lot better, especially if you put premium oil and fuel in that bitch, right?
yeah,
I just
yeah.
compare everything to cars and life is martial arts. I'm just still a white belt in jujitsu learning, and I know nothing.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about jujitsu, and then I'll let you say whatever you want to say, and then we'll wrap up the show. I think we got a lot of good insights from you, Shannon. So, jujitsu, what inspired you to start rolling and start grappling?
Well, you know
Or
what? Here's a funny story. And then I'll just come out and share it. So, one in every 4 women or 3 women, I don't even know what the statistics are because nobody reports, let's be honest, is sexually assaulted.
yeah,
So, when you're a good looking woman, especially me, I was blessed with triple D's by the time I was 16, 17. Like,
yeah,
I was just top heavy. And so, like, it brought on a lot of unwanted attention. So, when you're assaulted the first time and you're left feeling powerless and you can't do anything about it, well, I had some wrestling. I was on the boys' wrestling team and I played rugby, so I could tackle you. But did I feel like I could really like hold my own or survive an attack again?
yeah,
No. So I started training jujitsu. I felt so empowered. It
mm.
it broke me down. I took some lickings. It broke me down to the point where if the guys were coming in fresh out of the military and I'd still eat them up and spit them out on the mat, could I handle somebody attacking me?
Yeah, of course.
And so when I'm fighting like 300-pound guys and I'm still doing pretty good because I'm super flexible and nobody can pin me down and I can get out and I can choke and I work the joints. Well, that's when I started volunteering for Girls and Geese, just empowering women. So if
Yeah.
there's anything that you can do to empower yourself, whether through, even start out with like some power kickboxing class at the gym. Just throwing bows would make you feel more empowered, because if you can hold your head up higher, hold your head up higher when you're walking out in like a dark area, not with your cell phone all in your like in a ponytail on the back of your head, which is going to be snatched. You empower yourself in situations of awareness, and I think that's where the martial arts comes in, because it broke me down before it built me up.
Oh
But it
yeah,
gave me the confidence that I needed again. And
that's
if
great.
anything, volunteering through Girls and Geese and keeping women's training, because it's an expensive sport, I do it. But martial arts, it's the Asian culture is one thing that I loved. And growing up in Canada, it was such a melting pot. So I would say it was more so diverse, and I was closer to a minority in my high school. So I loved the different cultures, and so, but my favorite being them, Japanese. So I took 3 years. Konnichiwa, watashi no nimo wa Shannon desu. Hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku. So, like incremental changes, little bit by
Kaizen.
little bit,
Yeah.
routine, staying on top of, manifesting or setting goals. Yeah, but if you have them on a bulletin board in front of you and you keep thinking about them, and like you've got a coach telling you like what goals are you falling short on because you're not being accountable to yourself. There's ways that you can excel, be better, love better. Everything in life can just be better day by day by day. It is
So
called make
good.
it.
So good. Thank you. You were waiting for me to ask you a question about jiu-jitsu and how you got started, and I love it. It's very inspiring, and actually the reason why you did it and started and give back to the community, it's amazing. I love it. I'm always a fan of martial arts and what it teaches you, the discipline. I say I don't go to like a studio practice or like I practice my own martial arts and everything, but the amount of discipline that it gives you and just the calmness and confidence in your own ability is super
I
important,
call it
especially
church.
yeah.
When I go to the academy, and like I'll give my academy shout outs, 540 MMA. We got some of our guys coming up in Cage Warriors fighting, but in the and Dana's talking, was it talking contender? But it's like almost like a church. Everybody's so kind, caring, compassionate at the academy. If you go there, you bleed together, you spring legs, you sweat. It's like church, like to a whole nother level of spirituality. Because if you're done a spin class, you get that one euphoric kind of drop. And I love adrenaline drops and all that good stuff. I'm a high chaser, so I'm high on life right now. But
Yeah.
I can't describe anything to it. It's almost like
Yeah.
looking at your child for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like experience is wisdom, right? Like you could hypothetically want to do something like do martial arts or become a bodybuilder or become like a podcaster. But if there's nothing that actually you do, you get that experience and you could tell from that experience that you learn from it. That's where the wisdom comes from. That's where the philosophy of like martial arts, that's where Kaizen, like the constantly never ending improvement. And that's kind of like the concept and philosophy of the podcast is we flow in, right? The original of the podcast was named the Flow In Flow Out podcast, and I just upgraded and evolved into today's the first episode where we called it the Modern Flow podcast. And
I feel like it's a debut, like it was my special day.
yeah, and you definitely really killed it as a guest to give us entertainment, value. That's what I told you. I like Shannon, make sure there's some value. Make sure it's entertaining and say what you need to say. If you need to do whatever you want, and I invited, and you definitely killed it and knocked it out of the ballpark, because I got so much out of this conversation. I hope everybody listening to the podcast that they got a lot out of it as well too. But before
Yeah.
we go, I want you to say anything. If you are manifesting anything, if you want to see anything happen, if you're promoting anything, if I
Well,
left
my
anything
jewelry
off
line
of
is the
the
next step.
podcast.
I'm always advocating for patient care. If anybody wants to connect and support me with my jewelry line, revenue shares, because I've almost got it done. Just even like emotional support at this point. I
Yeah.
would welcome anybody, but I welcome anybody that needs help. Anybody that needs help in life, just with a question. maybe something that I said resonated with them and they wanted to dive deeper, but I opened myself up to the universe, to anybody that should need me. I'm always there to be a blessing, because every single time I've tried to help somebody, I've been blessed tenfold, ironically, through
Yeah.
that experience. And if you look for silver linings, they'll always be there, you know. And it's have faith in your dreams. Assume that they're already almost real and in your hand, and you don't need them anymore because they're there. Keep it visual, keep it around you, keep it going, and coaches can help that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing your amazing energy, very vibrant, very uplifting episode today. So I'm gonna close out the podcast. If anybody loves this podcast, if Shannon resonated with you, if I resonated with you, if you're looking for extra coaching, extra support as well too, and it's definitely it's a check-in. You know, if you're interested, it's not, there's no commitment to work for a coach, and I think it's like all coaches work a little bit different as who they are. It's like Shannon, I'm me, I'm Samnang. And the message of like coaching and philosophy is to help you become the best version of
Of
yourself,
yourself. And then
not
when
the
you're
best version of
authentically
somebody.
living and loving yourself, the universe, everybody around you, it's a much better world.
Yeah, that
Good for the
is the
collective.
purpose and mission of the podcast, to elevate you, the collective, to be the best version of yourself. What's your cat's name?
Oh, this is Lola, who is climbing the Christmas tree through that. She's just about to be a year. Support your local humane society. I went for one and I got two.
Welcome to the podcast, Lola.
Yep.
Lola, she's a new fan of the Modern Flow podcast,
The
guys. Right?
Modern Flow Podcast. By your
Welcome.
best.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you and hear you on the next one. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I respect your time, energy that you gave me. It's greatly appreciated.
Let's go.